What's good, everybody? It's been a long time. It's your boy Rich back at you. Real Talk with Rich is back in the building. Want to say what's up to all the Black comic lords, the Black superheroes forever fam. Want to thank everybody that's going to be joining us on tonight. Want to shout the chat out. Hope everybody is well. What's going on, Fatal? I see you in the building. And everybody else is going to be, just checking in with us or whatever. So tonight we got a show. Don't get into it. We're not going to delay the time. But if you are first time here, I want you to go and hit the subscribe button. I want you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I want you to, take care of that. I'm saying, get that out the way. And if you like what you're hearing, I'm saying, give us a thumbs up. You don't like what you're hearing, give us a thumbs down. Either way, that helps us. I'm saying. So I want you to just do that. And if you're feeling a little generous tonight, go on and hit us with a super chat. I'm saying, that little dollar sign next to your comment section. Please, 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 please like, share, and subscribe, and donate to the channel. But it's your boy Rich, and we back in the building one more again. And so, hey, been a minute. I'm saying, last week we did a show talking about hip hop. I had DJ Phil from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with us. He hung out with us, and we talked top five. We talked about a whole lot of different hip hop stuff. Shout out to Paul, who, from what I understand, is somewhere in America watching the Wu-Tang Clan Nas concert. So I hope he has a good time. Hope he makes it home safe. So anyway, let's get into the business. So we're gonna start with low-hanging fruit. That's a segment of our show where we talk about the news, about social media, pop culture, those kind of things. Oh, what's going on? Frustrated. See you in the building. Thank you for the super chat, sir. Let my man Derek hit you off with the thank you. Love. Yes. Love that, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you, bro. So let's just get into it. So back in March, me and Tamiko and Paul talked about Deion Sanders. Okay. And it's been 6 months. And in those 6 months, Deion Sanders has made himself a household name. Article there says Deion Sanders' audacious blackness makes him a hero Afro Americans want now. Okay. Now, this is a CNN article. And I don't have to tell you about the pandering that CNN does. We're not here to talk about that. But in the article, it talks briefly about how, people in the Black community, loves Deion Sanders' attitude. They love his brashness. They love his confidence and whatnot. And it just says here, after his team's first victory early this month, University of Colorado football coach Deion Sanders said something remarkable. He talked bluntly about racism and football in a way that few Black coaches at an elite level are willing to do. He said, we're doing things that have never been done, and that makes people uncomfortable, Sanders said. When you see a confident Black man sitting up here talking his talk, walking his walk, coaching 75% African Americans in the locker room, that's kind of threatening. Oh, they don't like that. And what we know about, Sanders critics say he's got a big mouth. He plays the race car when he just should coach football. His hype train is about to derail. Well, well, well. So again, Arthur talks about a lot about, the kind of admiration that Deion Sanders has. And it has not all been peaches and cream, but it got off to a real good start. You know what I'm saying? They went 3-0. Then they went to Oregon. And it reminds me of an old Dolomite poem. Way down in the jungle deep, the signifying duck stepped on the big buffalo's feet. Okay. So they got handed a old-fashioned butt whipping, 42-6. And Deion didn't step away from, he took full responsibility for what happened. talked about how he needed to do more, the coaches need to do more, the team needs to do more, and he was right because they weren't in that game at all. And I think it's something to be said about taking your humble pie, if you will. Now, Seco says there are 14 other black head coaches at white colleges, including 4 in the Big Ten. Penn State's coach took over after their scandal and won over 100 games and 6 more wins. CNN and others forgot about it. And of course they did. CNN is doing what CNN does. They're going after the darling right now. The darling is Deion Sanders. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is. Now, me personally, I have my thoughts about him leaving Jackson State, and I wasn't really tripping about it. I have no dog in this fight, but we've had conversations behind the scenes, y'all. Everybody wasn't happy with Deion when he bounced and went to Boulder. And they had some legitimate reasons as to why. You know what I'm saying? Now he's got a bigger platform. Celebs like The Rock, Offset, and all kind of folk popping up at the games. I'm like, y'all wasn't popping up when he was down there in Jackson, Mississippi. Y'all wasn't doing that. Where was all that accolades, and where was all that love that Deion's supposed to have when he was, playing, Division II football down in the SWAC? What was that? Nobody cared. But of course, it's all about money, man. And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, I want this brother to be successful. But the spotlight is on him. He's going to get some criticism, but he's also going to get some accolades too, which is cool. Now I'm not going to go as far as and say that, he's the quote unquote, like this article kind of alludes to. It's kind of funny too, because it says here, if Sanders has even joked to someone told him by the time Colorado plays USC next week, the stadium in Boulder is going to look like the BET Awards. I hope not. No. Colorado is still Colorado. People fail to realize, and people have a short memory, because there was a time when the athletes, football players at Colorado, were suffering from all kind of racism that was going on at the campus, and so it seemed like everybody forgot all about that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that long ago, which is why Colorado was in the basement, in their own division, in their own, in the whole collegiate sports. Nobody wasn't trying to go there or whatever. But, it's one of those things where Deion's the hot name. He's a legitimate coach. He cares. And he's going to do well just because, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is the reason. This is a two-sport athlete. This is a guy who's played and won Super Bowls and World Series. So, that goes without saying. Jackson State had zero legitimate reasons to be upset. The celebrities coming now because they're more organized. Yeah, I get that. Hirsch. But the thing is, he could have used a lot of support then. I'll just say it like that. And this is funny to me. He doesn't owe Jackson State anything, right? He did what he was supposed to do. He was there. They won 2 back-to-back SWAC titles. That kind of thing. That's cool. And so starting this year, whatever, right? The thing that came out of Jackson, Mississippi, after all this was all said and done, Deion was out there politicking, and getting to know people in the community, the very few black people that lived there. The news came out about Jackson, was not that Jackson had a new head coach, or that Jackson was going to try to move away from the Deion Sanders era, because there were people that were saying that he was not the SWAC, and that, he wasn't one of them. Say what you want about it. But the only news that came out of Jackson after all this was said and done was that Jackson State marching band got new uniforms. And I just thought that was really pathetic. But that's what happens. So, again, and I'm not against celebrities showing up, but I'm like, you could have used those same celebrities, you know what I'm saying? It's not like that Deion got more famous when he got to Boulder. I'll say it like that. So anyway, well, shout out to Deion Sanders. He's got ways to go. Now, Frustrated says Jackson State wasn't getting the funding And when Brett Favre stuff went down, Deion realized Jackson State wasn't going to get any state money. Well, here's the thing about that. The truth of the matter is, and I said this back in March when we covered the show, HBCUs, by and large, are a lot of colleges and universities that need funding. They say what you want about Donald Trump, but he funded HBCUs when he was in office. We can say that he's this. We can say he's that. We can say that he's this. He can say he's that. But he did do that much for those historical Black colleges and universities. I know a certain president that was a little shade darker that didn't do anything for the HBCUs, but he will remain anonymous here. So, but suffice to say that these schools need to be funded. And if they don't get the funding, they're going to suffer. Jackson State is in the poorest state in the union. Mississippi has no money. Mississippi broke. And I mean, it's some beautiful people that live in Mississippi. That was one celebrity that was upset that I think when 60 Minutes covered Sanders when he was down in Mississippi or whatever, and she was mad that they showed, I guess, the poor part of Jackson, Mississippi. Like, Mississippi, by and large, looks like you go back in time. That's what it is. You can be mad about it, you can be upset about it that they covered it, but that's what it was. So again, whose fault really is all of this? HBCUs have issues. And he said HBCUs are going to HBC. I'm a proud HBCU on Langston. We had the same. I mean, all of them do. All of them do. And again, it boils down to the alumni being supportive of the schools and things of that nature. And again, I'm not tripping. Look, the dude went and got his money. I ain't mad at him for getting his money. Now, am I just ecstatic about seeing, Shedeur driving a Rolls Royce and flexing his watch wrists or whatever, what I'm saying? I'm like, well, do what you do, just show up on the field. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Do what you do, but you know that you got to show up on Saturday or Fridays or whenever you play the game. So that's it. So shout out to Deion Sanders doing his thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, they took a beating, and they're gonna be better for it. And Deion said something I think that was interesting, that hey, look, we're only gonna get better. You know what I'm saying? A loss doesn't mean they're gonna just tank the season or no. They fought against a legitimate team. You know what I'm saying? And so Nebraska, you can say Nebraska was somewhat legitimate, but Nebraska hadn't really been legitimate in a couple of decades, to be honest. And TCU, well, that I think TCU went into that game underestimating Sanders, and so that's what that is. He said HBCUs are like the Black comic book community. # low support. I said it. That's funny. Well, that's enough of that article. Shout out to Deion Sanders. Our next article is going to be a CBR article talking about Star Wars, particularly Anakin. The reason why I wanted to talk about this article is because in episode 5, I think it was, yes, episode 5, Anakin Skywalker makes his return to the Star Wars universe, right? And this article kind of centers around him becoming Darth Vader, and actually him becoming Darth Vader was, as they said it at that art, it was his salvation. But there's no way you're going to make me believe that the Sith had the hope of the universe or the balance, bringing balance. You're not going to get me to believe that. The Siths are the bad guys. The Jedis are the good guys. Now, of course, there are problems sometimes being the good guys. And this article kind of explains that or whatever. But I didn't want to talk about the article in and of itself. I wanted to talk about Ahsoka, because I hadn't had a chance to talk about Ahsoka or whatever. And I'm gonna be honest, Ahsoka has been a snooze fest for me. Now, I know some guys love it or whatever, but it has been a snooze fest. I'm like, okay, can we get to the action? That's all I care about. I understand y'all trying to Y'all trying to link all the stuff that she did in Rebels and whatnot to this, but let's get on with the show. I mean, it's just not getting interesting. Finally got, Anakin to show up. We finally got Thrawn to show up. And, again, it's one of those things where y'all should have been trying to do this in the very beginning and tell a story from that. But I get they wanted to try to do some build up. It just has been a snooze fest. Episode 5 was the best episode of this thing so far. I think we got like 3 more episodes of it. So, am I enjoying it? It's okay. You know what I'm saying? When there were some things that have happened in the story that have been cool to kind of watch, but for the most part, it's just been a snooze fest for me personally. I'm not the biggest Star Wars quote unquote hardcore fan like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't rock with it like that. I love Star Wars, but I'm just not into that like that. And but for me, it's just I would say quote unquote casual fan. I've read Star Wars books, I read comic books, things of that nature. He says, "You sound like Manila. You never watched Rebels of Clone Wars, did you?" He's so funny. Man, I thought you was at the concert. What you doing? Look, I just, all of these different things. It's cool. It showed up fine. It's cool, but don't act like just because that happened that I'm supposed to be excited about a show that has really just been a slow burn. This is serious world building and storytelling going on. If you say so. If you say so. Now that's a question though. That okay, let's say I'm not familiar with the Sith or just disgruntled Jedi. Now that I can get with that, Herschel. I can get with that. That's pretty much the truth. Now let's just be honest. Let's just be honest about the Sith, okay, or the Jedi, okay. The Jedi recruit young, so you think about all of these old men taking these little kids from their families, and you don't ever see them again. In order to, be the quote unquote good guys. The Sith, I mean, the Jedi are problematic. I'm not gonna act like the Jedi are the perfect, but they are supposed to be the light. And so this whole thing about Anakin, salvation was wrapped up in being the Jedi. Let's not forget that this is the dude that killed younglings, okay, when he decided to pledge himself to Palpatine. Okay, we're not gonna forget that. So you can put everything you want on screen with Ahsoka, and they had this nice kumbaya reunion, and they had this little nice lightsaber fight. It was cool for what it was, but that's still the dude that laid down a bunch of kids, and I'm not gonna forget that. And so you can talk about Rebels, you can talk about all that stuff. That's the Anakin Skywalker that I know. I said what I said. Shout out to all you Star Wars hardcore fans. Paul won't stop. They literally expanded the Star Wars universe by going in completely different galaxies. Well, look, now I do like the space whales. The space whales are pretty cool. I like the space whales. Space whales, that was a nice touch. I'm enjoying certain elements of the show. I don't want to just poo-poo it. I'm just saying that it's been a snooze fest. It is what it is. That's how I see it. Minus is I recommend the Thrawn books by Timothy Zahn. Yes, Thrawn is a dope character. Thrawn is a dope character. I'm not going to front on. I was excited to see when I heard that Thrawn was going to be in the. I like the Thrawn from the comic books as well. I'm just telling you, these last 3 episodes better be fire. We don't want this to go down in flames. I want to see more Ahsoka Tano in the future, and I want Rosario Dawson to continue to get her, her Star Wars coins. So we'll see. LG Pan says, my problem is just not enough Ahsoka, and the action does need to pick up. Thank you. I ain't the only one out here tripping, Paul. The Thrawn looks like, No, you didn't. You didn't say that, did Elon Musk. He do favor Elon. Oh my God, the shade. That was some shade there. But he does look like Elon. He does. He said, tell me I'm wrong. He was also selfish when it came to his desire to have much more power and be respected by the Jedi Masters. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it was. And again, I'm saying, the The Jedi, I like Anakin's character and his struggle in his story because he literally is the most powerful being that has ever been born. You know what I'm saying? He's the prophesied one that would bring balance to the force. He's all that, right? But they tell this story of this conflict that's going on with, and we got to remember that he was a slave at one time. I think that that's the one thing that as they grew him up and he became this powerful Jedi who turns to the dark side, his beginnings was dark. I mean, he was a slave. His mother was a slave. He rescued his mother from a band of Tusken Raiders, and she died literally in his arms. And he snapped. He did anything. He did what anybody who loved their mother would do: hold the people that killed her literally responsible, and he wiped them out. And then, of course, he having this conflict with the Jedi Council, them wanting to put him on the council but not giving him the rank of master. That was very problematic. They should have just not even, you know what, don't even sit on the council. But they used him. They used him to get next to Palpatine, who they didn't know at the time was the Sith that they had been looking for. They didn't know at the time that the Chancellor was the one that was, you know, moving the puppet strings. They didn't know that. And they used Anakin. These are the Jedi. These are supposed to be the keepers of the Force, the keepers of light, the enlightened ones. That's how it got dark for them, that they would even use one of their own and dangle a carrot in his face. So it was natural for Anakin to go to the dark side. They literally pushed him in that direction. And the only one that affirmed him and loved him seemed to be the Chancellor. Turns out to be Palpatine. And then you get all kind of shenanigans that go from there. I hate that happened, but that was an amazing story that they told. So anyway, yeah, so then y'all continue to check out Ahsoka. And that's enough about Star Wars right now. Let's see what we got. Some of these comments. Rodney Barnes needs to write more Star Wars shows and call plays for comments. Stop it, bro. Stop playing. Stop playing. You know, Rodney Barnes is going to wind up becoming the Michael Jai White of the writing world, the comic book world. Yeah, he needs to write this. He needs to write that. He's still writing Mandalorian, so he's doing that for Marvel. Shout out to him. What we're going to do, though, we're going to get ready to go to commercial break. But before we go to commercial break, I want to remind you, just on yesterday, at about 6:15, the Ladies Live came back, and the ladies had a wonderful show. I enjoyed it. I had a chance to watch the whole show while I was getting myself ready for this show on tonight. And so, yeah, so shout out to them. I'm glad that Bree, Angel, and Tamika are back. Hopefully the conversations get deeper and the ladies get their shine. And shout out to those of you that watched, and shout out to Fatal, because I know he dropped a super chat on the ladies, you know, and doing their live. So thank you. And with that also, one quick reminder, on October the 13th coming up, we have a roundtable of Black indie comic creators. Varnell Young, Tony Kittrell, Dorfis Jean, and Marcus Roberts. They will all be joining the Black Comic Crew, or the Black Comic Lords, and we will be discussing, you know, how we can help Black independent comic creators prosper in our space and just, you know, have a nice discussion, dialogue, if you will, when it comes to being independent creative, all of the stuff that goes with that. So we're going to get pretty deep. So stay tuned for that. That's Friday, October the 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to get into a couple of Screen Rant articles. Stay tuned.
This week in Black History, Black Comic Lord celebrates the artistry of Dennis Cowan. Dennis Cowan is a comic book artist with a flair for naturalism. If I didn't know any better, I thought the brother lived and breathed in brick-walled alleys, inhaling the pollution of the city streets and exhaling the pictures of agony and anguish. You see, it's hard to describe Mr. Cowan's art, so I'm forced to use a ghetto analogy. Dennis Cowan's art is like fish and grits. It's not first on the menu, but you're glad you spotted it. Visually, it tastes good and your eyes will be filled. Yes, filled, I say, filled with detail. They say the devil is in the details, but Dennis be like, hold my beer, because the brother crafts scenes and faces where it makes you wonder, did he miss anything? Each panel is filled with action, and though pictures cannot physically move, Dennis Cowan shows and proves that they actually can. From Batman to The Question to the Black Panther and others, Dennis Cowan's art speaks like Terminator X speaks with his hands. That makes him a bad man and worthy to be celebrated. Salute the living legend that is Dennis Cowan, a Black history legend. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And until next time, peace. What do you do when you're black and blue, when your paycheck is not a sign of respect, and the most you can hope for is going home without stars from the superhero walls? Code of Honor, written by Chuck Dixon, spins a yarn about cops and heroes that you can never mistake one for the other. Officer Jeffrey Piper is a wide-eyed rookie who gets a lesson in ethics on his first few days on the job. He learns how the lines get blurred. He learns more blurry, all the more the worry. Still, he's the optimist. There's lots of overtime to go with thoughts that undermine his goal to be seen as a hero. But he gets a lesson in reality. That lesson being heroes fly while the masses die and cops serve only for crowd control. But leave it to Officer Piper to find sunshine in the cold, dark world. Trouble is, Officer Piper is so used to the darkness that the light he loves bothers him. She wants him to be better, which is a switch, seeing that he wanted to be a hero at first. But like I said, the lines get blurred at times. Code of Honor is a 4-issue story that you can find in your dollar bins. Pick this up and you won't be able to put it down. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.
We back. He says, wait, Dennis Cowan did the question cover. I had that book in my collection. Yes, Dennis Cowan did that and the interior, I believe. The question, issue number 1. But I mean, he did a lot as far as issues in regards to the question. So yes, I think he's the original artist on the question, period. So yeah, shout out to Dennis Cowan. Going back to a comment that Herschel made about what was it? I just missed it. Rodney Barnes needs to write more Star Wars shows. I want to, yeah, and call plays for Colorado. So, well, I won't say that, but what I will say is that, you know, man, it was messed up that HBO decided to cancel Winning Time. I think everybody, I think people that the majority of the people that watched the show enjoyed it. So them canceling it was just kind of out of left field. Like, who does that? But you know, he had 2 good years out of it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? He introduced some interesting stuff. And, you know, it is what it is. H&H says, I wonder how much the strike had to do with that decision. Yeah. What's going on, 1 in 100? I see you, bro. Salute. Salute, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, so, you know, I hate that happened. And like you said, maybe it was something with the strike. You know what I'm saying? The timing on it was definitely very suspect. And also, too, you know what I'm saying? We just did the Code of Honor. Rich recommends. Shout out to Chuck Dixon because he's going to be writing Alpha Core for Eric July's Rippaverse book. So y'all got that to look forward to. Eric July ain't playing with y'all. He ain't playing at y'all. He not playing. He not playing. He not playing. Eric, I'm gonna be honest. I think Eric July is the Deion Sanders of the comic book world. He coming. Y'all better put some respect on that brother name. I'm just saying. But that's enough of that foolishness. He said, wait, they canceled? I thought it just ended it. No, they canceled that, bro. They just canceled it. Yeah, it was unceremoniously canceled. So yeah. 1-100 says it's time for Rodney Barnes to get that MCU phone call. They could use some better writers. And you know, I don't even want to talk about the Lord. You know what? Tonight I'm not talking about the MCU. The MCU is trash right now. You know, can we just have a moment of silence for the MCU? it's listen. There's a movie coming out later on called The Marvels. It's going to have our darling Monica Rambeau in it. Some of y'all going to go see it. Some of y'all not going to go see it. But what we do know is that the MCU right now is on life support. You know, I'm just saying, y'all, it used to be in Feige we trust. Now it's like in Feige, we need to talk, Kevin. We need to talk. We need to talk, bro. It's just like I tell the people over at Milestone, do better. Just do better. Because these shows, you know you're in trouble when the ray of sunshine is Loki, season 2. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. That might have been a little shady. Yeah, they don't need a soft reboot. They need a hard reboot. Matter of fact, they just need to clear everybody out. Just start over with a whole new squad. I'm serious, man. I mean, you know, you don't have the success that you have early on, and then all of a sudden you get to phase 5 and your stuff is looking mad weak. You know, so it is what it is. So let's go to our next article. It's enough MCU talk with Rich, because I could go I could do an hour just trashing the MCU at this point. So the top 10 best comics ever. Shout out to Paul. Paul, he said should have been a disclaimer. You know, I catch Derek off guard sometimes. Shout out to my producer. So we're gonna talk about last week we talked about top 5 MCs, top 5 producers, top 5 albums. We got into a whole lot of shenanigans last. That was so much fun, man. So tonight, according to Screen Rant, these are the top best comic books ever ranked. Y'all gonna love this list. Number 10 on the best. I don't even know how Screen Rant came up with this. I guess the writers sat around, the producers at Screen Rant sat around and thought about this. This is the list, y'all. Number 10, Sin City by Frank Miller. Deservingly so. Frank Miller's the man. Frank Miller's the man. I see y'all talking in the chat. Y'all ain't right. So Frank Miller, you know, Sin City, I think that's a dope comic for you to check out. Number 9 is Preacher. Not a fan of Preacher for obvious reasons, but yeah, that was number 9. Number 8 is though one of my favorite Batman stories, and that is Batman Long Halloween. That was an amazing. Oh, here we go. Shout out Dion. What's up, bro? So yeah. So Batman Long Halloween is one of my favorite joints, you know, as far as Batman. So I'm a Batman guy, so yeah, that's one of the good to go ones. Kingdom Come. All the DC characters is involved in that. That was a dope story. V for Vendetta is number 6. Number 5, Batman Killing Joke. That's another good one. Number 4, Batman Year One. Y'all see something reoccurring here? Number 3, Sandman. Number 2, Batman Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, of course. That could easily be number 1. But the number 1 comic book ever, according to Screen Rant, is Watchmen. Shout out to Alan Moore. Can't hard to knock that because, yeah, Watchmen's a pretty dope comic book. If you have not read it, go get the trade, or, you know, you can go watch the movie. That's fine. You can go watch the HBO series. That's fine. But you really should go read the books. Go read Watchmen. It's a pretty dope. Man, that thing is in like its 20th printing. So that's how good it is. And this article is one person's opinion. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this article, shout out to all you Marvel fans. Because Marvel was not in the building. I was looking for Marvel to like show up like, where y'all at? Where y'all at? DC is like, we outside. We in here, baby. Most of this is DC. If it ain't DC, it's Vertigo. But Dark Horse, I think, got 1 or 2 in here or whatever, but that's it. No DC, I mean, no Marvel, no. Think about this. All the Spider-Man stories, all the Hulk stories, all the Wolverine stories, all the X-Men stories. At least God Kills, that story should be at least, I think, mentioned, honorable mention at least. And Marvel wasn't in the building. No Black writers in the building. Yeah. But that's according to Screen Rant. Pretty pasty, right? No Image, Valiant, or Boom Studios either. Yeah, pretty pasty list, right? So, you know, again, you guys can do with that. Y'all can come up with your own top 10 list, best comic books that you think. We need to do that on Black Comic Lords. We'll probably have some people mad at us. Behind the scenes, typical, of course. But check this out. The next article is very, you know, whitewashed as this is. We get very black on this one. Shout out to Paul and the Cult of Bast and all of you Black Panther fans. You might find this important. The 10 most important Black Panther moments that define Marvel history. This should get some of y'all talking. He said, can we skip this one? No, can't skip it. Got to take this, bro. Got to deal with it. Shout out to Seco. So, I know you Black Panther fans going to love this list. So, starting from 10 to 1, you should have brought me on for this part. I didn't know you was, I thought you was out there hollering and screaming at the Wu-Tang and Nas. I thought you was at the show tonight. But anyway, you can comment in the chat. I'm pretty sure you're going to be very vocal when it comes to this. Okay? Starting at number 10, the 10th most important event in Marvel history regarding Black Panther is Black Panther meets the Fantastic Four. And of course, that comes from issue Fantastic Four 52. Okay? I want to tell you guys, if you got an opportunity, go to blackcomiclords.net. And I want you to put in Black Panther. And then I want you to find this little short that one of our brothers, well, 2 of our brothers, shout out to Herschel, and shout out to Derek. And they did a little small clip. It is very hilarious about Black Panther meeting the Fantastic Four. I promise you, you will be entertained. Matter of fact, Derek, put that in the chat. Put that link in the chat. Boy, look at the shade is so real. The shade is strong around these parts. I see you, Paul. I got Fantastic Four 52 reprint. I have Fantastic Four facsimile. Now what? Now what? Shout out to you guys that spend $500-800 on an old book like that. Yeah, he's right though. I don't have the original Fantastic Four 52, And I probably will never have it, unless one of you guys gift me one. If I find it for cheap, then I'll get it. But right now, it's too rich for my blood. It is what it is. So you just not dig up a facsimile. Anyway, yeah, I did, Paul. Thank you very much. Number 9, the most important event in Black Panther history is avenging the death of King T'Chaka, which you can find in Fantastic Four 53, which I do not have. Paul has it, but I don't have it. So there's that event, okay? Number 8, Black Panther joins the Avengers. You can get that book, is Avengers 51, okay? That's the 8th most important event. The number 7 most important event, now Derek is throwing shit. That is not shade, brother. That is just an attempt to define Black Panther's introduction into the Marvel Universe. That's all it is. I'm telling you, it's funny though, y'all. Y'all go check that out. Number 7, T'Challa is a spy. Okay. Marvel Knights, issue number 8, Christopher Priest, the legend, talks about how he joins the Avengers to ultimately spy on them. So there's that as well. So T'Challa has been at this, he's an old hat at this spy game, Yeah. Number 6 event, most important event in Black Panther history. Shuri becomes Black Panther. That's Black Panther number 2, written by Reginald Hudlin. Okay. Then, of course, number 5, also written by Reginald Hudlin, Black Panther and Storm get married. Now, this happens, of course, in Black Panther number 15, which Hudlin wrote, which took place, ironically, in the middle of the Civil War story arc. Everybody puts away their weapons and they all go to Wakanda and enjoy themselves and have a good old time. But for whatever reason, Marvel cannot get these two together and keep them together. Shout out to all of you out there who are holding on to that Storm and T'Challa unity that will never, probably, ever happen. It is what it is. We will not have no slander on my show. This is a Screen Rant. This is a Screen Rant article, bro. I didn't write the article. I just report the news. I am Walter Cronkite. Is that how you say it? Yeah, Walter Cronkite. I'm just here. Tom Koppel. I'm just here with the Nightline News. That was the next event. Number 4. I'm having too much fun with this. Number 4 list. Namor floods Wakanda. Avengers versus X-Men number 8. Yeah. Which, of course, Black Panther Wakanda Forever kind of got its nod from. When Wakanda got flooded in the movie, they took that directly from the comics from that particular issue. So that's the number 4 event. Next event, the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. Black Panther goes to space. They cite the whole run, issues 1 through 25, which took place from 2018 to 2021. Of course, it ended in the middle of a pandemic. Took like 6 months for the last couple of issues to come out. But yes, that's the 3rd most important event. And of course, your boy has been on record as not liking that run at all. And my mind have not changed since then. So it is what it is. He said Fantastic 4608 better be on this list. Stay tuned. Okay. The number 2 event in the most important Black Panther moments that define Marvel history. Black Panther leads the Avengers. Avengers number 8, written by Jason Aaron. That's the number 2 event. And the number 1 Black Panther event in the history of Marvel Universe is T'Challa steps down as king. Shout out to John Ridley. Shout out to John Ridley. They list this as the #1 most important Marvel event. Shout out to Screen Rant for being the biggest troll. I'm sorry, Paul. Fantastic Four 608 is not on this list. And I'm pretty sure there could have been a whole lot of other stuff that could have been made this list, but that was what they considered the #1. He said, I hate the list. I know you do, bro. I'm sorry. Like I said, I just report the news. I don't write the news. I just report the news. Shout out to Screen Rat for trolling every Black Panther fan in the history. At least they didn't have, Marauders 13 on the list. If Marauders 13 had been on the list, you'd have probably had Derek to pull the plug and pull the feed on the show tonight. But I ain't make the list. Like I say, I just report the news. That's the news, Paul. So y'all do with that what y'all will. Y'all all of y'all are Black comic lords. Have at it. Send Screen Rant, tweet them. I know Paul's probably already trying to at them on X right now. Shout out to the cult of boss. But that's that. So with that said, we're going to, he said this Malcolm says he's mad sus. Yeah. Okay, behind the scenes, that's what he says. Y'all going to the new Wakanda theme park in Disney when it gets built, a lot cheaper than going to Africa, right? I'm about to pre-order my season pass. That's funny. Yeah, y'all go ahead and handle that. Y'all go ahead. Y'all go ahead. Capitalism is something else, is all I will say. Secret invasion. Yeah, that's right. Don't shoot the messenger, Paul. Yeah, man. But anyway, that's that. So, Frustrated says, okay, yeah, he says Secret Invasion of Wakanda was a huge story. It was. And he also makes the point that Hasbro just released Christopher Priest's action figure. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There's some good stuff out of that. Don't listen. Black Panther fans, don't be mad. Don't be mad. Don't hate. Just congratulate. You know what I'm saying? Your guy is still around. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Dr. Ewan is writing a good story. Yeah, Dr. Ewan is writing a good story. And I'm just going to wait for Paul and Mark's commentary on our show, on our Black Comic Lord show, Wakanda Whiskey and Bird Blurnham. I'm waiting for that commentary. When somebody asks me, what is your commentary on Black Panther by Eve Ewing? It's great. It's beautiful. I like it. What about the last issue? No comment. I'm waiting on Paul and Mark's commentary on that. I'm a little scared. I don't want to get canceled. Of course I'm trolling. I'm being facetious, y'all. Tongue in cheek. Says, how did Secret Wars #9 not make the list? I don't know, bro. I don't know. They didn't put it on the list. There's a whole lot of stuff that they could have said. You know what I'm saying? When T'Challa and Storm got married, they didn't even mention that the Watcher was there. They didn't mention that. The commentary on that was, well, it was in the middle of the Civil War story arc, and everybody stopped firing bullets at each other, and they came together and had a good time. So it is what it is. So he said there will be no commentary until the subsequent issue comes out. There it is. You heard it first. Black Comic Lords exclusive. So yeah. But anyway, we're going to get ready we're going to transition to our topic tonight. Down the rabbit hole. And if you guys thought I was trolling just now with that list, it's about to be a real troll session right now. So there is a New York Times Magazine article talking about the Black nerds redefining the culture. This is an NY Times Magazine article. And in the article, it just says this. It says, being Black and nerdy hasn't always been so glamorous. Black comic fans report suspicious white store owners trailing them in shops. At Comic Cons, Black cosplayers are sometimes chastised by officious gatekeepers, told that their chosen characters aren't supposed to be Black. More ominously, Black gamers hear the N-word hurled casually during online sessions and find themselves targeted for attack when revealed or presumed to be Black. In addition to these outside pressures, many Black fans of fantasy, science fiction, and other genres erroneously coded as white spaces face ridicule from Black friends and family members who see what they do as acting white. I wanted to have a discussion tonight about blurred culture. And I have a number of questions that I want to ask. I recommend that you guys read this article. It is behind a paywall. But if you're not afraid to spend $4 a month, this is the article worth checking out. It's a very extensive article. I'm not going to read it. He says New York Times. Well, this is actually an article, Dion, from 2021. But it's a very, very great article. So I recommend that you guys, that's why I asked Derek to put the link of it in the chat. If this is what you do, if this is who you are, this is the culture that you celebrate and be a part of, you might want to check it out. This is pretty extensive. In fact, I think our very own Dr. John Jennings has commented in the article itself. So it's a pretty extensive article. It goes pretty deep. But I wanted to just use that article, one, to give a recommendation of something that you guys can go and read and check out and whatever, lighten yourselves and give you some perspective. But I have not three questions. I have a number of questions I want to ask you guys tonight. I want you guys to kind of share with me your thoughts about this. Number one, is Black culture and myth? Or is it just appropriating white spaces? Or is this a legitimate movement? And if it is a movement, where is it going and what's it trying to do? The word blurred. I put up an article, well, not an article, but I put up a post in Black Superheroes Forever. And I asked the question, what is blurred culture? I'm asking for a friend. And shout out to Imani, because Imani made a point to just address me directly. he didn't even bother commenting, I don't think, in the actual topic. He just sent this to me. And he told me, in so many words, what blurred culture is. And there were other people that were talking about, giving their perspective. Some were very nice and some were very nasty. Some said that there was no such thing and that Black people doing this kind of stuff is a little crazy. To call something blurred, which is, basically the word Black and nerd. We get it. One of my partners, the Honorable Larry McKenzie, who was a teacher and politician here in the Houston area, he just kind of, I guess, looked at it and he just kind of put one and two together and said, well, Black and nerd, Richard. And I'm like, I know that already, bro. And I love that dude, because me and that dude share a birthday. We grew up together and we went to school together. I mean, I've been knowing this cat for a good 40 plus years. And so, I took what he said very, very, facetiously and tongue in cheek. But, what we call blurred culture today, what I'm saying? I like, Dion says, blurred culture is here to stay. Blurredom, BlurredCon, DreamCon are two biggest blurred cons in the country. There's a difference between younger and older blurs. The younger birds are all into anime. And see, that's the thing I get. I think that there's distinctions and there's levels to this, if we can say it like that. Now, me, myself, I don't necessarily identify myself as a blurred. And the reason why I don't really necessarily identify myself as a blurred is because I was around before there was even such a term for it, if that makes any sense. I'm 56 years old, guys. And so we weren't calling ourselves that. We weren't calling ourselves nerds, but that's what we were, quote unquote, known as. And we weren't the cool part of the cool kids. It's cool to be a nerd now. I come from the old school, where it was not cool to be a nerd. The girls didn't want you. The guys thought you were weird, all kind of stuff. Especially if and let's just be honest, anybody can be a nerd today. Back in the day, a nerd had to be smart. you don't have to necessarily be smart today. You know what I'm saying? That's not a requirement for this generation. I'm not saying that this generation is not legitimate. I think it is, but I know that there's some things that go on that I personally, as an old head, can't co-sign or stay away from. So, I don't really poo-poo the kids wanting anime and that kind of thing. I get it, I understand it, You know what I'm saying? It's not my jam. It's not what I would go after. And I asked the question, you know what I'm saying? Is it appropriating white space? Because to a certain guy's point in this community, you know, guys cosplaying white or Japanese characters or whatever and don't choose to do their own says a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a very valid point. Now, Frustrated says, I think the word blurred is not used properly because blurred is used to categorize people who like things outside the realm of what people think they should like. You know what's interesting, man? In that article that I just talked about, Issa Rae is quoted in so many words, and I'm paraphrasing, but they asked her, because what the guy in the article does, he chops up or he props up Stephen Urkel as being the quote unquote face of blerdom, and how Issa Rae, through her Awkward Black Girl series and later on her Insecure series, kind of like the writer was kind of insinuating that this was kind of like the new improvement of nerd, and she pushed back on it. She was like, I ain't rocking with no nerds like that. That ain't us. So even people that you would think would be quote unquote called a nerd don't even identify with being a blerd or identify with being a part of nerd culture. So it is what it is. Let's see. Robert North says, I'm an OG blerd, 62 years old, watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine when it first aired. Okay, no, they've been collecting comics since 1973. Question becomes, do we have our own space? BCL would be considered our own space. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, you know what I'm saying? I'm just bringing this up because, not because I necessarily have strong opinions about it, because I really, really don't. I find it interesting, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, if there is some legitimacy to this, what does it look like? Because I'm going to tell you, here is the litmus test for me. This is just for me. And this might, you guys may push back on this, but this is the litmus test for me when it comes to, is bird culture legitimate? I think you have to be creative, or you have to be a creator, or you have to invent or create something that is uniquely to Blackness. And the only thing that we have on a wide scale, in my opinion, is our commentary or how we approach it. We are in these spaces, or we are participating in this fandom because a lot of us were latchkey kids. We watched TV, whether it was Star Trek, or whether it was Deep Space, or Space 1999, or The Land of the Lost, or Saturday morning cartoons, or whatever it was. We were just entertained by what was available to us. And so again, when it comes to like BCL, for example, Black Comic Lords and Black Superheroes Forever was created to be a space for our people when it comes to those who love comics and those who love superheroes. We created this. So we're literally are participating in this fandom on an organic level because we created it. And I think that's what kind of like separates us from a lot of different things, because we really don't fool with anime because it's not our jam. We respect anime, but it's just not our jam. It's not what we do. For us, it's about the comics. Always will be about the comics. And we can consume elements of, you know, the culture itself at large. But for us, we treat this space as our own because we created it. Now, let's see what we got. So if you don't have Black anime characters, let's go back. If you don't have Black anime characters, then what do folks expect? We are just now seeing Black ones in anime now. Good point. I think though the problem has been, let's just be honest, the history of anime is problematic, if we're going to keep it real. And while they have tried to quote unquote clean it up, some of that still exists. You can go back and whether it's Dragon Ball Z and the character Mr. Popo. I've seen people zealously defend Mr. Popo. And I just think that is the highest level of delusion. If I'm keeping it a stat, okay? Now, Spielmonger, bring up Spielmonger's comment real quick. Anime is racist. No black characters whatsoever. Is it racist or is it or the people who create anime, Japanese people pro Japan? Does that make sense? Because again, if I don't see me, it's just like me creating a black comic book. And if I don't put Japanese people in the comic book, does that make me racist? See, I think that that's where we miss it, because the Japanese anime that people consume, right? It's from Japan. It's for the Japanese people. Now they sell a lot of books over here. They sell a lot of anime, a lot of shows over here. You know, so I won't stop. I'll stop short of calling it racist, but I just think that they made that particular content for them, and so, you know, I can't say that. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't know the people. I really don't. I think that going back to my example about Mr. Popo and Dragon Ball Z, I think that's racist. A poor depiction of quote unquote a character of color. You know, he's not no African I know. So, yeah. Now let's see. Frustrated says no anime has black characters, but those characters are very racist. Appearance and how they stereotypically act. Yeah. Now Paul brings up Lydia Grant, Robotech, Blacks in Anime in 1984. That's history right there. I think though that, but I think Paul, the problem with that is, you know that, but the comic book community or the nerd community may not know that. Because I don't know a lot of people that are into Robotech. I got some Robotech books, but you know, by and large, a lot of people don't know that information. See, because there are some black ones, it's just as many of those shows are not dubbed for U.S. audiences. And if we don't see them, if we don't see those shows promoted, yeah. There are black studios in Japan, but their reach over here, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure that they have that kind of reach. They may be trying to just be a part of the culture there and hoping that it reaches over here, but I don't know. I know we had some commentary with some people saying that the anime that we consume over here in the States is like the best, and that there's a whole lot of anime or manga stuff that's trash that we just don't get to see. So yeah. Now it says kill it wrong is from Soul Eater series. Okay. Now Mark Robinson says, how can you complain about anime? All the characters are Japanese. I don't think it's inherently racist. Could be wrong. I don't know. I only watched One Man Punch. I listen. I read the first first manga, One Man Punch. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was just something I wanted to do, just check it out. I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah. I like Hershey says, John really got us talking. Okay, Paul says it's a slippery slope to make the argument that Japanese anime shouldn't be accepted by us because it wasn't made for us. Many older mainstream comics didn't include black characters either. And I think that said, I think creativity says something that, you know, we need more of our creativity and our creators to take center stage, which is why we've been on a kind of Black Comic Lords has kind of organically been trying to like really promote Black independent creators. And that's been for a reason. That reason being is that, you know, if we really say that we're Black comic heads, or that we enjoy Black content made by Black people for Black people. And we can't just talk about it. We got to be about it. We got to spend our money. We gotta promote. We gotta insist. We gotta hold everybody accountable. And I'm on record as saying, last week I talked about it, I think briefly, where I need Marvel and DC to take an L, so independent books can kind of go to the front and be put to the forefront, because they're not giving us, in my opinion, they're not giving us what we really want. You know what I'm saying? And they don't have a vested interest in giving us T'Challa and Storm. They don't have a vested interest in giving us Black Lightning in a comic book series. They don't have a vested interest in promoting Black characters in their properties. These brands are just that, brands. And so at some point, you have to ask yourself the question, am I going to be loyal to someone who isn't loyal to me? Or am I going to push my efforts toward who I think is for me? That's a whole nother conversation. We'll talk about that again on October the 13th. Dion says, the problem is we don't have our own issue or others do. Jinx and Pokemon is a minstrel backface too, but they've colored her purple in recent years. So a lot of this stuff is problematic, bro. I'm not tripping either way. My brother is a Dragon Ball Z. He was a Dragon Ball Z fan. I don't think he's really into Dragon Ball like that no more. But I know he has all the VHS tapes. He has literally boxes full of them at my mom's house. So yeah, now Robin Monroe says Brandon Easton is writing a Robotech book now. The first issue was recently produced. Hersha says you can't worship Asian anime and then be like, let's support Black. Wow. Shots fired. Yeah, that's something to that. Paul says, in the same regard, if you grew up reading Superman, Batman, Spider-Man comics, can you also claim to support Black creators and Black characters? I think it's also, in my humble opinion, I think that part of our problem is we want to support independence, but we're not, I will stop short of saying that we're addicted to what we've had. But I know as a Black comic head or whatever, I know that I can go to the shop and pick up a volume of this, a volume of that, a volume of this, a volume of that, whether it's when it comes to Black creators. I gotta ask somebody, look up a Kickstarter, Google this, Google that. I gotta do a lot to get to a shop or to get to a book. And I think that's also a problem. Namani says, I think like any form of art, we as Black folks have to engage the art form in order for it to change, just as Billy Graham and others had to do to make inroads. Very, very good. Very, very good point. I think that's been the issue. I think the gatekeeping is real in the comic book industry. And there are several artists and inkers and colorists and people that are in this industry. And for a long time, we didn't know that they were Black people because it just wasn't really a big deal. But I do know that oftentimes cats that do get propped up as the best writers, the best artists, whatever, these white cats know who Alex Ross is, Bill Skarsgård, all these guys who, are amazing at what they do, but we don't know certain artists. We don't know them. I mean, we don't know their faces. And that's the other thing too. The Black comic book community, the nerd community, blurred community is a very fractured community. And what I mean by fractured, he said, Bill who? I can't say that guy's name, man. Y'all have to say it for me. Sinkowitz, Sketchowitz, y'all know it. Y'all, you know what I'm talking about. Stop playing with me, Derek. but the black comic book community and the black quote unquote nerd community is it's fractured in terms of it's pockets over here, it's pockets over there, it's pockets over here, it's pockets over there. And the question is, can we unite? Can we come on a united front and really make something happen, or like a movement? You know what I'm saying? Because there are people that have been doing this long before we were, in terms of black comic lords. But what we've tried to do is we've tried to be, one, intentional, and two, we've tried to avail ourselves to anybody that's in the community that has something that they want to offer. But oftentimes, sometimes we don't get the support ourselves. That's another story. Wiley Taylor says anime is an art form which attempts to represent the Japanese culture and its views. It creates space for projecting its culture. We can learn from anime and establish creative spaces for black art. I do think that there's merit in that. The question becomes, and here's where I kind of like separate the wheat from the chaff, if I can say it like that. I'm a story guy. And so I'm interested in what kind of story are you going to tell? You might have great art. You may have dope characters. But if your storytelling is not stellar, if it's not interesting, if I don't care about your character after I read your book, I'm probably not going to seek out the next issue. And I think the biggest issue isn't to be able to, the ability to create art. It's the ability to make good art. The ability to tell a dope story. The ability to someone tell that story and then the next guy finds out about it. Man, because it's like if you've seen a good movie, you're going to tell somebody, man, this was a dope movie. You ought to go check it out. That's how stuff grows. Philadelphia, literally, as a story. I'm not gonna say wasn't nobody checking for Philadelphia, but anybody knows me will tell you that was one of the first books that on this channel and in our space that I said, look, y'all need to be up on this. This is the book to have. This is I know for myself, I used to tear Herschel up with this. Herschel probably got tired. His ears probably were falling off me because I always talk so much about Philadelphia. But I know that this was a dope story. I know that this was a dope concept, and it was going to go somewhere. And for us as people that are going to consume content, we have to find those stories within the culture, within the art, within the artists that speak to us and allow us to champion it without a bunch of promotion or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Because I still believe in word of mouth. Now, Dion says, how do you compete with the machine? Animation, toys, merch, distribution. Anime is the hip hop nerd. I think that you, and this is just me, Dion. I think that you don't have to necessarily look at anime or anything as competition. I think that what you have to do is you have to study and learn what people are doing and apply it to what Wiley said. You have to if you see somebody doing something dope, you got to glean something from that, how they did their thing or whatever, and try to incorporate it for yourself. A lot of this stuff is just simply observing. I think that's another problem that we have. We don't really observe like we're supposed to. We don't really study. We want to graduate before we study, if that makes any sense. And it's like artists, for example. How many artists that you know of can talk to you intelligently about Billy Graham? How many artists do you know that you can have a conversation and study about Dennis Cowan. How many guys do you know that you can talk about Dwayne McDuffie's story writing and point out certain things and little intricate things that lets you know that this is Dwayne McDuffie writing. This is nobody else. I can identify it. We don't study to that level. We need to study more. And I think that's our biggest problem, because we live in this Burger King generation. We want it now. And when we have to study the milestone stuff from 30 years ago, not respectfully to milestone 2.0, y'all still catching up. I said what I said. Y'all still catching up to something that existed 30 years ago. That might be a little harsh, but that's the truth. So, I mean, it is what it is. He says, "Hey man, folks change the manga because it's hot, but they miss telling a good story." I mean, again, some stuff is popular because it seems cool. It seems cool, and trends and fads. That is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's going to go back to the art itself. As Black nerds or whatever you want to call yourself, at the end of the day, it's about our expression, our storytelling. What kind of story are we telling? Because here's the thing, as African people, or as people of African descent, if I can say it like that, one of the things that made us who we were was our ability to tell story. We had griots. We had elders that people sat around, and the elders taught you the history of your people and the history of the world and the things around the world that you lived in. We have lost that. And the truth be told, I'm tired of seeing gangsters, hip hop, sagging pants, pseudo comic book characters. Give me somebody with some depth, complexity, those kind of things. The reason why Batman is the reason why Batman is literally a cash cow is that this is a white millionaire who was traumatized and dresses up like a bat and fights crime. And he does it to the detriment of himself because he just feels like it's important. He can't get married. He can't have any good relationships with people. The people he helped, they wind up getting hurt behind him. And he's just a complicated character. And they can continue to write story after story after story after story after story because he's complex. And we hear this thing, shout out to Bree from the Ladies Live. She said yesterday that we are not a monolith. And that is true. I don't think we fully believe that, because if we knew that we're not a monolith, then you can develop stories and tell stories about people and the complexity of life. And you don't have to throw an art behind it. You don't have to be hotep with it. You don't have to be woke with it. Just tell a story, because I don't care what your character looks like. If your character is shallow, as thin as the pages is written on, I'm not going to pay it no mind. And I just think that for us is to develop story, develop a real, honest to goodness, hardcore culture movement that champions Black creators. We got to be more than just what we're willing to, quote unquote, invest in. A lot of people don't want to make that investment. That's the reason why it's only a few that get out to make stories like Concrete, that they're able to make Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer. There's only a few when it should be dozens. I should go ahead and go to my comic shop and find books on the shelf falling off Not because they're not selling, but because there's just that many different volumes of or many different stories to tell. Stranger Comics by Sebastian. This guy has tapped into a niche of fantasy and Afrofuturism that he is able to capitalize on, and he literally has a cult following because he tapped into something that was unique, and he serviced it, and that's all. That we need more of that. But if you're going to tell a street story, you know what I'm saying, then at least give us a story where I can identify with the hero, I can identify with the anti-hero, I can identify with the villain. A lot of times I read a story from an independent creator and it's cool, but I don't put the book away and be like, man, I wonder what he's gonna do next time. And that's us demanding more. As a culture, we need to demand more of each other. It's not just about us buying your book, it's about us holding you accountable to standards and to do things, because blurred culture only exists when we participate, which has been the problem. It's why books get canceled. It's why shows get canceled. It's why nobody takes what we do serious. Because literally, what do you have that's uniquely Black, that is uniquely created by Black people, that is uniquely produced by Black people, that's uniquely for us? There's literally nothing. I'm just saying. I just kind of went down on a tangent with that. I'm sorry. Behind the scenes says anime and manga has the escapism. The blurs don't want to deal with the stories, hardships of being Black and fighting the police. Well, see, that's what I'm getting at, Dion. There's more stories to tell than that. There's more stories than that. That's my point. They have literally, many creators have made that a trope, not something that white artists did. These are Black artists doing this. Okay? I don't want to name names, but I could, except to say that if this is on the story that you think that this is all we are, and that's your own people, that's their perspective, it is what it is. I'm like, a little bit more to that. Why can't we have more fantasy? Why can't we have more stories about hardworking blue-collar people? Why can't we have stories about rich, affluent Black people? You don't have to always be doing something wicked or corrupt or whatever. It don't always have to be angels and demons. It could literally be a hybrid of many different things. You know, that's the cool thing about when you look at a character like, say, Anansi, who is known as a storyteller. Taking some of the old Anansi stories and creating some content behind that. There's literally hundreds of different stories you can tell. But see, you know, people, white folks write lazy, and Black folks write lazy too. It is what it is. We have to do better. That's all I'm saying. Criticism equals hate. That's how most creators take feedback now. Well, you know, it is what it is. And that's why it's kind of hard for me to, like, you know, I want to be someone that's an advocate, but at the same time, in my advocacy, am I allowed to critique? Am I allowed to really say how I really feel about this character that you've written? You've given me this story to consume. Now, if you give me a story to consume and your story has no moral, your story has no direction, your story has no depth, how am I supposed to get excited about the next thing that you do? Like, you didn't really, it's like hip hop. I said it on the show last week. Most artists that are successful in the business, that have successful debut albums, they spent their whole life writing that album or creating that album. And if you're a writer, your first offering to whoever it is, you spend your lifetime creating that first story. So the question is, what have you learned? What have you seen? and what kind of story you're trying to tell. It's pretty straightforward, but I just think that for us as a culture, whatever, so much of the culture that we consume is European. I am consciously, as a black man, aware of that. Cold Tiger says we could have stories of suspense. Yes, yes. Back in this, listen, back in the 70s and late 60s and early 70s, there were a lot of black magazine, pulp fiction magazines on the newsstand. Bronze Thrills, all kinds of different stuff. Stuff goes deep, y'all. Writing is something that black folk know how to do, but oftentimes are very pigeonholed, or they're can be very stereotypical. I remember back in the 90s, there was an explosion of, not late 90s, early 2000s, there was an explosion of black fiction, literary fiction. You could go to Barnes and Noble and see a whole bookshelf of black writers. But a lot of that stuff was very, very street, stereotypical. It was trash. A lot of it was trash. It is what it is. And that's just being honest about it. But I'm like, we are a people that produced a Paul Laurence Dunbar. We are a people that produced a Toni Morrison. We are people that produce Eric Jerome Dickey. We are people that can produce dope writers. We have no excuse. But again, it goes back to studying. Who are we studying? The people that want to write science fiction literature, are they studying Octavia Butler, or they just want to tell their own story and don't want to hear nothing else? Mine says, I would love folks to see a Walter Mosley create in this space more. Yes, Walter Mosley, when he did the thing, I thought that was dope. Yeah. See, Coach, this is more creative than you got some fans who feel that way. I got attacked for talking about a CD, and I praised it for except one song and got attacked. Yeah. See, Coach, do they know who Octavia Butler is? They should. That's my point. That's my point. They don't. That's a problem. And again, we talk about culture because culture is not what you think something is. Culture is what you do. It's what you do. And so if you're going to consume this content, by and large, with a lot of it being European, Japanese, and Asian, and all this, that, the other, and you have nothing that leans into who you are as a person, culturally speaking, that's very, very, if that's not the highest form of cognitive dissonance, I don't know what is. You're consuming all this content from people that do not look like you, who do not have the experiences you have. And then when it comes to your own people, what story are you leaning into? Do you even know of any? And I think a lot of blurs have not been challenged in this area. They haven't been challenged to see the wealth of who they are. They have been taught to value other people. And listen, you can like art, you can like styles from different cultures. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you can't give your spin on it, I think the reason why hip hop turned 50 years old is because those people that were in the Bronx, those people that were in the inner cities, they didn't have Rembrandt to look up to. They didn't have Picasso to look up to, but they had Phase 2. They had the local graffiti artists that wrote on the trains. They got their inspiration from someone doing something, making something out of nothing. We're masters of that. But you would think we could take that and incorporate that and make those stories and have our own movement. Because at the end of the day, that's what I think all of us want. We really want our own movement, but we don't want to move from where we are. And that's been my challenge as someone that consumes content or whatever. Okay, Rich, you say you love our community. Well, what are you going to do to help our community? Are you going to promote Black creators more? Are you going to talk about more about their books more? Are you going to be an advocate? Are you going to be a voice? Are you going to, try to do more? Or are you still going to just talk about Batman? And we all have to do that. We all have to challenge ourselves. There's nothing wrong with it. It's healthy. But you got to know that if all I'm doing is consuming things that are outside of me and nothing that's within me or within the confines of my community, then, white supremacy is king, if that's my outlook. Seco says, a lot of times you can't find those books on the shelf. You don't go to online, you will never learn about them. Ruby Goldberg, as a graphic novel I found out about on accident. Mark Robinson, isn't Octavia Butler a writer whose book was basically The Matrix or was some other movie? She sued one over 100 million. No, Mark, she was not. That's another lady. Octavia Butler wrote a book called Parable of the Seed, Parable of the Sower. Kendrick, Google it, my brother. But no, I know the lady that you're talking about. But no, Octavia Butler is a lot older. Her stuff is old. She's like the godmother or the grandmother of Black science fiction literature. So yeah. I said, Hershey, need to read my $20 comic book version of my Black Superman called Melanin Man Fighting the Police. and that's, listen, I despise white supremacy, but I don't need to read about it. I don't need 50 books talking about the same battle. The police, the powers that be. Come on, y'all. We're so much bigger and deeper than that. And I think that's the one thing about ourselves is that, like I say, we don't study more. We don't study the greats. We don't study the art, you know what I'm saying? We don't study the aesthetics of how certain things are done. We don't get into the science of it. Now, we're the people that created math, science, and all that good stuff. We don't want to study. I don't know. That's a problem. Adate said, I agree. Hip hop effectively pushed its culture and lifestyle to the world. This created income and wealth for the Black and other communities. Yeah. I think that, it's really something to be said about making something out of nothing, because that's basically what it was. There's an old saying that hip hop didn't invent nothing, but it recreated everything. It did, you know what I'm saying? It took the aesthetic of what they were doing, how they read, how they danced, how they fought, how they cooked, how they loved, and just built everything around it, around these 5 elements, but that's another story. But look, guys, I just wanted to talk about this and kind of ramble a little bit about it because I think it's important. I think that we all have to kind of look at ourselves and really find out where we are in this equation, because we're a part of the equation. If we consume this content, we call ourselves this, that, and the other. Self-determination and definition is very, very important, but we got to have a clear, concise idea as to what that definition really, really means. Because if we got like 5 different definitions of what a blurred is, or what a Black nerd is, or this, that, the third, or whatever, and we're not really doing the work, we're not really shaping these thoughts, then all it will be is escapism. And I'm an advocate for escapism. But what I'm not an advocate of is us taking the easy way out when it comes to escapism. I don't want to read about what I'm going through always. I don't mind reading about what I'm going through, but at the same time, it's like, Batman. I like Batman stories. I like their street stories or whatever, but like I like to read science fiction stuff. I like to read cosmic stuff. I like to read Fantastic Four. I like to read Blue Marvel and characters like that. I like to read Blade. Yes, I like a horror story, a horror comic. but my palate is can take more than one thing, and I think we have to trust one another too. That's a part of it. Mark Robinson says the clever thing about Cosby Show is they deal with topics covertly. I appreciate the fact. I appreciate that tactic now. Different world is a little more than in your face, which is how young people are. I'm gonna be honest. What Cosby and what he did will always stand the test of time. I hate how they tried to really trash his legacy toward the end of his life, or has in the end of his life. But I mean, what he did, they can't take that from him. Do all the allegations, send him to jail, and do all that stuff. But I mean, this was a guy who gave us nerd content. He gave us Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. He gave us a show, basically where upper middle class rich folk, were on screen every Thursday night. Gave us a show where kids aspire to go to college. You don't have nothing like that today. All these black content creators, all these filmmakers and all that, we get jacked up documentaries about the prison pipeline and all kind of other things. I could go somewhere, but I'm not going to do that. except to say that it is what it is. So that's it. I'm down with the rabbit hole. I'm going to take these last few minutes to talk to you guys. What's on you guys' mind? What are you reading? What you thinking about? What's good? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Wiley says, Stan Lee studied Martin and Malcolm X to create the X-Men, knowing our past and the present, how we need to create good story. However, it takes hard work and dedication. Yes. If you're going to make a baby, right, you have to spend time with that baby. You got to raise that baby. You got to feed that baby. You gotta affirm that baby. When it comes to our creativity, we have to affirm what we're doing. Got to believe in it. Got to have people around us that believe in it. You know what I'm saying? It's like a hip hop crew. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody snap like you. You're the best at it. You believe that. You go into every verse thinking that you're the best. You gotta affirm, self-affirm, or whatever. But if you got folk around you second guessing, if you second guessing about what it is that you're doing, you're probably not gonna succeed. You know what I'm saying? It does take a lot of hard work. It's gonna take some heartache too. And sometimes you're gonna catch an L. It's okay. It's called lessons. It's not losing, it's called lessons. Let's get it together, y'all. Let's build like we know we can. People like to talk that. You want to be a hotep or whatever. We built the pyramids. Okay, well, why is it if we built the pyramids, why we can't build the black community? Why can't we build a black nerd community that's worth a doggone, that has a real foundation, a real infrastructure, a real support system? Why can't we have our own award shows? Why is BET still hurled today as the top black show or whatever? It's trash today. It's trash. It don't look nothing like it did back in the 90s. But I might just be an old man hating on the young folks. Either way, it is what it is. Frustrated says, I'm so pumped. John Stewart War Journal, hadn't read my issue, but I'm pumped. Yes. Shout out to John Stewart. Yeah, this is a pretty good first issue. I enjoyed it. You will enjoy it too, Frustrated. You will enjoy it too. Yeah, John Stewart. Sorry about the glare. Yeah. John Stewart War Journal. It was a good first issue, debut issue. Looking forward to next issue. But I gotta say, what I'm saying, it's a 22-page comic, but it's like really 18 pages because they stuck in a preview. I don't know why they stuck a preview. They literally stuck a preview of King Kong and Godzilla versus the Justice League. Why you need to put that in the back of that book? I'll wait. And it's been over 5 years, and Black Lightning has yet to be seen in his own self-title. I'm looking for that too. So yeah. So I did pick this up, put this on the pull list today. Is nothing, yeah, because I didn't get to my LCS until today. But this is the first issue, Acolyte, Concrete Comics. So shout out to Concrete, man. They doing things. I got the original issue ones in my long boxes over here. So yeah. Did anyone see the Outlaw Johnny Black? Who's going to also see the creator? Not going to see creator, Dion. Not participating in that foolishness. Y'all can have that. Y'all let me know how that goes, how that works out. I ain't doing that. Yeah, some stuff is just crazy. Not doing it. You know, we got enough scammers in our life without being biblical with it. But anyway, yeah. You know, I haven't read the Cyborg book yet, issue 3. Looking forward to reading that. Got the Miles Morales Spider-Man issue 10 that has supposed, I guess, Bloodline is in it, I think. Looking at that. This is the book I want to read here. This one here. This is Predator versus Wolverine. Ken Lashley. Yeah. Looking forward to this all day, every day. Yep. So yeah. Ken Lashley is on this book. So John Stewart or John Pierce to indicate DC is leaning forward in obtaining more black dollars. Yeah. I mean, you know, John Stewart's a dope character. I like John Stewart. We've gotten a lot of John Stewart of late, you know, starting with Future State, and they let Jeffrey Thorne write a volume of Green Lantern that was heavily influenced or heavily featuring John Stewart. But this is the first quote unquote John Stewart self-titled book that we've gotten. Some people thought that John Stewart Emerald Knight was going to be a run, but it wound up being a one shot. I know a lot of people were disappointed and wanted Jeffrey Thorne to continue doing that, but yeah. Bronze Tiger, where is Bronze Tiger? Well, Bronze Tiger is doing what Bronze Tiger does. You know, I think he's in the. I'm not sure if he's in the current Suicide Squad run. The last volume of Bronze Tiger I read was in the DC Black Label book Rose, which is very, very good, very, very good. The Bronze Tiger is in that. So yeah, yep. I picked up a few keys and some other stuff, you know, done that. But I've been on my Dwayne McDuffie kick right now. So I'm gonna Blaze series. What are your thoughts of Black Panther 3? I'm trying to think. We're not talking about Black Panther 4. But what are my thoughts on 3? I think the whole series has been good. Eve Ewing is doing some good world building. I say that. This is a capacity or area of Wakanda we've never seen before. The Burning Chaka, which is named after the city of his father, that T'Challa knows nothing about. He's literally there learning about this city as he is, you know what I'm saying? And he's encountering these factions of these gangsters that are in Wakanda, which is interesting in that Black Panther is protector of Wakanda, but there's this underbelly element in Wakanda that we've never seen before. I don't think. You know, Paul is the cult of boss. He may know of another crime family, but this is my first time that I can remember reading about a crime family or a criminal enterprise in Wakanda like that. Okay, so it's interesting if nothing else. So I'm looking forward to see how it goes. So we'll see. So Hickman is writing the new Ultimate series with Miles. Any thoughts? Well, is he? because the last Ultimate Invasion book I got, Miles wasn't even in it. So if Miles has made a reappearance, I done missed it because he was in that first issue, and then that was it. They released issue number 2. I don't know if issue 3 came out. I just know I wasn't looking for it because they told us that Miles was going to be featured heavily in this book, but he wasn't even in issue 2 at all. So let's see. Spider-Man 2 video game is going to be huge. That's the medium reach for birds. Why pay $5 for a single issue when I can buy a video game with a better story? Well, there's that. The main complaint that I hear, Seacoast is the main complaint I hear about Dr. Ewing's run is that it's a slow burn. We're still waiting on seeing this crime family. Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. I've said this before, that there are two kinds of Black Panther fans. There's Black Panther fans that enjoy the lore or the story, or there are Black Panther fans that are about that action. And you're not getting a lot of action in this run because I think that she's doing this building up stuff. Like, for example, when this crime family sends Deathlock to kind of we got a little action with that. But and so that kind of like was whetting the appetite, so to speak. I think we'll get more as time goes on, but I just think that she's trying to set up something. It's almost as if, I'm gonna be honest, it's almost as if this is going to be a long run. I think she's going to get more than 15 issues. In fact, she better get more than 15 issues, in my opinion, because I think that for her to tell a complete story, she's going to need at least 2 or 3 volumes of Black Panther stories that she can run through. So we're only up to issue 4. It's been solid. You know what I'm saying? It has not been nothing that really that you can poo-poo at. It's not something that you can really just poke holes in and say, gee, that's a problem right there. That's a problem right there. That's a problem right there. Now, of course, issue 4, it was a little interesting. We'll see how it goes. And to Paul's point, we'll see what happens in issue 5 and, see where Dr. Ewing wants to go with it. But it's a solid look right now. It says, Cutthroat says, good evening. Have you bought the Blade series of Blade and the daughter team up? Yes. Bloodline was pretty good. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. A lot of people think that, Bloodline's going to be around. And like I said, she's in the Miles Morales Spider-Man book, issue 10. And I'm enjoying the Blade books as well. So it's been good. Shout out to Brian Hill. He's doing his thing. Ultimate Invasion. Only use Miles to get you to buy it. That's another complaint many have about that many lack of Miles. Listen, I bought a Miles Morales Strange Academy book. It was #1. And that thing was a sleeper. Now, Strange Academy is one of the best titles Marvel has had in the last couple of years. Strange Academy, Moon Knight, Miles Morales is pretty good too. Marvel's got some decent books. Has everything that Marvel's been putting out has been Stellar? Not at all. But they got some solid books. But that was a snoozer. And I just got the Strange Academy Moon Knight book. I hadn't gotten into it yet, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Wallace says Dr. Ewing is creating an awesome world which will lead to more complex stories. That is my hope, that she does something complex. I don't want a shallow story. I really want something kind of deep and profound. Here's the thing. I'm gonna ask a question. Name me a story that is a literary piece of art. A Black story that is a literary piece of art. I'm gonna see what everybody says. Again, I'm gonna ask this question. Name me a Black comic book story, Black character, whatever, that is a literary piece of art. I want more of that. When people talk about a character like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, the writing is almost like poetry. What we got? What we got on our squad? Behind the scenes says, will the cult of bass ever be happy again? Probably not. You can't satisfy those folks. uh, now, Paul says that Strange Academy Miles book was my idea. Well, they didn't do nothing with it, Paul. They might have given you the idea, but they ain't do nothing with it. Because that book was literally a sneak. Yeah, I went to sleep trying to read that book. It was that boring. So Mark says, so far I have no complaints about Ewan's run on Black Panther. I hated Photon. I wanted my money back. This BP is good. She's on the path of redemption in my eye. But this is the comic book. Action is required. True. Very true. And again, like I said, there's Black Panther fans that they about that action. I want to see Black Panther punch somebody in the face. Infinitum by Tim Fielder. That's one. Shout out to Paul. That's definitely one. That's definitely a literary piece of art. That's definitely one. Depends on how each person defines it. I would say Static's first run. Yeah. Yeah. That's one. I think Philadelphia is definitely one. Some of the stuff that Rodney Barnes has written in Philadelphia has been amazing. I'm not talking about from a story aspect. I'm talking about from a literary, poetic type. I hope they give Rodney Barnes the opportunity to do a Swamp Thing story, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to write a story. I think he would do an amazing story on Swamp Thing. I hope DC is willing to make that happen. On Kingdom Come, yes. It says, I picked up a great comic book written and created by Emma Corbett Stoneheart. She's the daughter of Joe Kunert that did DC Batman. Okay. I would say Black Lightning first run. That's my guy. Uh, uh, I'm trying to think how I feel. I guess for me, I'm kind of on the side. What I loved about Black Lightning was that Black Lightning was full of action. As a kid, reading that, I was all in because he was about that action. He had hands, and so I may have to like go back and reread that. I know that I've seen flashes of that. Shout out to Tony Isabella, but yeah, I can get with that. Monty says Storm book was horrible. Stop it. We will not throw no shade at Storm. She is not responsible for those who write her, who don't know how to write her, or don't. I don't. Well, listen. I am trying to be respectful and supportive. But yeah, that last Storm book has not been the lick. I didn't read this because I was collecting, but would you consider Blue Marvel? Oh yeah. Blue Marvel was the first book that I read digitally that made me go out and buy the floppies. So yeah, Kevin Greavy's Blue Marvel, Legend of Blue Marvel, absolute. Absolute. Absolutely. One of the most important stories in comics. And I hate the fact that Marvel will not allow him to write that full story. He talks about it in the interview we had recently with him. Matter of fact, shout out to Paul and those guys, because I went out and got the last book that he wrote. This is around here somewhere. I got it in the stack somewhere. The last thing he wrote for Blue Marvel. So yeah, Blue Marvel is definitely classic. Definitely a classic. Seco says X-Men Academy store arc where Prodigy almost took over the world. His own team had to take him down. Where a few times a black character was viewed as a threat to the world. Okay. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, Seco. I have not read that. So let me ask you a question. What issues are those? So I can go get them. By You by the Love Brothers. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, Seco, let me give me those issues on that X-Men Academy, because I've seen X-Men Academy books in the wild, but I've stayed away from them because I'm just like, there's only so much X-Men that a boy can read. And your boy just, X-Men Red right now is what I'm reading. I've just picked up this Wolverine versus Predator book. I'm starting to get a little bit warmed up to the Fall of X stuff. That's been cool. So yeah, I just bring back the Sentinels. Okay, get away from. My hope is that they just do away with the whole Krakoa storm out at Mars and all that. Bring everybody back to Earth. Let us fight some good old fashioned Sentinels and some fascists. Give me back my X-Men. Give me back my X-Men. Give me back my X-Men. Yeah. Cutthroat Comics says, I wonder why DC are not rebooting the Thundercats comic book. Why does DC do anything? I mean, you know what? They could do that. They've had a lot of success with the Disney villains. I'm sorry, that's not Disney. That's actually Dynamite. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about these. I'm getting my brands mixed up. But as far as like old brands and bringing them back or rebooting them to put them in the comic book, like I enjoyed the Scar books. And if you didn't get any of those books, they were not going to be available to like 2025 a trade. So if you happen to see those books in the wild, grab them. They may be worth a little money later on. Okay, new X-Men Academy 10 and 11, 2005. That's what's up. Let me write that down so I can go hunt that for real. I don't know though. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like certain they just do certain things, man. They don't want to just, that sounds like a great idea. I like that. What up? What up? Shout out to Frustrated with the $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.
Donation. It's a donation. I thought it was the trash. Don't be hitting on me.
Thank you.
Hold that thought. Hold your beer, Dion. I'm gonna get to your comment. You hilarious. Wiley Taylor says Blue Marvel's power set does not work well for Marvel. You have a black male character with a power set equal to Thor, Hulk, etc. They could make it work, bro. They just choosing not to. Adam Brashear as a character is an amazing character. He's literally Reed Richards with a power set that is very amazing. What's not to love about that? What's not to write about that? The Ultimates books that we got with him and Black Panther and Monica Rambeau are amazing. We don't never talk about them, but they were amazing. And I don't necessarily think that Blue Marvel will ever get the fanfare as T'Challa, but he should be right there. We should literally have volumes of Blue Marvel books to go choose from, but we don't. They put him in these books where he's wearing a Parker jacket. Just looks weird. And, I want my Blue Marvel with the cape I want my Blue Marvel even with the mask. I just love the original design for Blue Marvel. That's just me. Now, Dion, you are a troll. I love you, brother. You know you're my guy, but you're a troll. He says, y'all know Panthro is black, right? You know what? Y'all gonna stop with this. I will say that Thundercats was one of the best cartoons I watched as a kid. And the thought that Panthro might have been black, I can understand that thought. Um, you know, he's a Panther. He's a great Panther. Talks like a brother. I think in the racial Olympics, we should draft Panthro as black. So yeah, I'm on board for that. Shout out to Dion. Troll gang. That's what gang gang. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Uh yeah, man. Shout out to Frustrated uh for the super chats. Appreciate that. So I'm excited to see what is going on with the John Stewart Green Lantern book. I am too. I am too. This thought the guys that's was writing the book, um, he's gonna lean into John Stewart's background as a Marine, and I'm for all that. I'm for all that. I think that we're gonna get a pretty good story. How long will they tell it? Of course, the thought is, they're gonna just do a volume and they'll see where it goes and it sells. Whatever. I think this volume of Green Lantern is going to sell. I just don't, some people just did not like what Jeffrey Thorne did with Green Lantern. I enjoyed it. I think it's okay to do different things with characters, but you have to also realize when you take that liberty, you're not going to always be accepted by others, if I can say it like that. I remember having a conversation with the LCS guy, and he was telling me about how people weren't buying the John Stewart book. And I almost thought it was racist because I'm like, okay, Jeffrey Thorne is trying his best to tell a good story. The guy's just not liking what he's doing with it. Can't say the writing is terrible. There was one issue, the issue 11, I think, of the John Stewart or the Green Lantern run that he wrote that I didn't care for. But other than that, that run was solid. And but that's just me. Fatal says, voiced by Earl Hyman, technically Panthro is a brother. That part. Yeah, man. Yeah, that part. Yeah, that's what's up. Well, guys, it's 10 after 10 where I'm at, so I'm gonna go on and shut it down. We have any other thoughts before we get out of here? If not, it's time to go. So with that, I'm gonna give the benediction. Psalm 37:23 says that the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord and delights in his way. From the stronghold that is Black Comic Lords and Black Superheroes Forever, it's your boy Rich. From me and Derek and the whole squad at Black Comic Lords, we ask that you would continue to support our channel. Ask that you would continue to like, share, and subscribe. If you like this content, tell a friend, tell a hater. We here and we're trying to do big things. Asking that you would just support. Before we get out of here, please hit the like button. Please, 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 please share the video. And from me to yours, I thank you. God bless you. Good night, y'all. I'm out of here. Peace.